Hello everybody and welcome to my first ever post-game analysis. Now, the game that I'm analysing featured in my last video, the trio of games, and this is the last game in that series. So, spoiler alert, I'm about to tell you who won this game, so if you don't want to know and you'd like to watch this game being played out live by me, then simply click off this video and start watching the last video that I put out. So, I'm about to tell you, I'll give you a few seconds just to click off, and it was me. I won this game as Lorien versus Mordor. Now, I have been playing a few games with Imaginary and also Mogat with this matchup specifically. That is Mordor versus Lorien, and we found that actually Lorien has a really tough time against Mordor. And it's a bit difficult to work out why. I do have a few ideas about why it is, and I'll talk about that a little more as we progress into this game. And also, as you saw, if you watched my last video, that really I do struggle against this strategy that Dud uses, especially with Lorien. Here you see Dud has a little bit of a mis-micromanagement and he crashes into some walks, which really, more than anything else, is worrying to me, because every time I see a micro mistake from Dud, it makes me think that his strategy is even better, because if he was to play with better micro, then his strategy would have worked even better. Nonetheless, it is difficult for Lorien to play against Mordor, as you saw in that video. However, I have come up with a strategy to play against this Mordor orc spam, and that is the very, very early Beorns, and really to just spam Beorns and use them in a very specific way by splitting them off into cavalry and building damaging units. The building damaging units are in bear form, and the cavalry, which fights against the orc spam itself, are in the bear form. So as we see here, an extremely early Beorn hut. And actually, I can't really imagine how I would be able to get a Beorn out quicker than that. Unless, say, for example, I sent my starter unit over to this farm and grabbed a Beorning hut and then built no Malon trees for the time being. However, you need Malon trees because you need the eco. It's all well and good getting out an extremely early Beorn a few seconds before this one, but if you've got no eco to keep up the spam, it's irrelevant. This one's just going to die and you'll lose the game. So here you see, as opposed to the previous games, if you watch my video, and I do recommend you to watch it before you watch this one, is that in the previous videos I didn't get the Beorn out this quickly, and as you may have seen, he's creeped the troll by the time I've got my Beorn out in the other videos. However, in this game, I've actually got my Beorn out and I'm slowly stopping his development of creeping this troll. So yes, he is going about creeping it, but as you see over here, I've already creeped mine, so I've got my money. So he's slightly behind me now in terms of creeping, and I'm just simply going to use this Beorn to kill some more troops. And let's go over to my Palantir to get some more power points. As you see, they rise as the orcs get killed, and also potentially to steal some of this money. So my starter battalions are over here to try and fight as well. And as you see, I activate the Lorien speed boost so that I can try and steal some of this money. Now, I get very lucky here that a lot of the money spawns on my side. And really, I don't understand how I got that middle one. It seemed as if he would get it, but I got very lucky there and got that. So that's a big boost for me. And as you see, the money has gone up, and that allows me to afford this inside building and also to get some more Beorns. However, the trample damage, revenge damage, I should say, from the Beorn is huge. Now, it's less than half health already. Now, bearing in mind that these orcs are the worst swordsmen in the game, and there's no packs in this clump, it's literally just orcs. So that is one of the reasons why a lot of people think that Beorns aren't that great. Now, here I've got a bit of a misplacement of my troops. Really, my troops should be around here, because as you see now, they've been flanked, and this Beorn had to stay and heal up. Luckily, thanks to the Beorn spam, I've managed to get another one in. And this guy really now is functioning to keep this unit alive. Because really I want to keep my starter battalions as well. I don't want to lose them because they can be becoming useful in harassing and generally fighting off the orcs. So obviously, whatever game you play, whatever faction you play, keeping your units alive, especially your starter units, is so important. And here I just about managed to do it. And as you see, I'm getting some quarters so that I can keep up the Beorn spam and I can really get a lot of Beorns and actually maybe possibly get some more command points than him. So here's Dud's base. He's got 3 orc barracks and he's also got 2 economy buildings, and really these economy buildings he will be looking to buy pantries and then later upgraded pantries to really keep up his command points so that he can fill all of these command points with orcs. Now here you see 249 out of 450. he can get 450, and he will very easily get to 450 with all of these orc pits. But obviously, if your total maximum command points that are available to you are too low, really all these orc pits are going to be sitting around doing nothing, because you simply can't afford to keep spamming them out. So here it looks like he's going to creep this wildman, which he still hasn't creeped. I have creeped both mine on my side, so a little bit of more progression from me as well. And in the meantime, I'm sending some Beorns over to try and help my scout hero here, Orifin, and I also just there used the Mystic Stream. Now that stops all of his units, and it's further slowing his progression. And I'm also using this Beorn to try and contest this wildman pit, while I get some Lambish bread for Orifin before he dies. And in the meantime, on the other side of the map, I've been harassing his farms. And really, as you see in the previous games, the biggest thing for me was that Dud just kept getting map control with all of his orcs. And then once he got map control, his economy was just far superior to mine. And really, this kind of strategy spirals out of control if you don't come down hard and heavy on it like I have here with this super aggressive Beorn start. So really, I'm trying to just completely cripple him very early on in the game. Now, these guys should be over here grabbing this farm, so a bit of mismicromanagement there from me, but I didn't have enough money for it anyway, so not too big of a deal. So, as you see, the whole time I'm trying to slow his progression, and once again, if I let him progress into this match, and I let him do whatever he wants, really he will probably win, because he has won with this strategy before a number of times. So really, I'm the one who's taken the fight to him in this match. And I need to ensure that he doesn't build up. And I'm constantly harassing and constantly getting rid of his farms. Now, getting rid of those farms also reduces his command points by 60, because each farm gives you 30 command points. However, his inside farms, he's already gone for a pantry. So as we see now, he's 510, and he's getting another one. So really, it's starting to become dangerous for me now, because his command points are starting to get higher, and he can so quickly fill those command points with all of these orc pits. However, I've got quite a few Beorns out now, and I'm splitting them, as I mentioned before, into a cavalry force. So here you see these three Beorns are my cavalry force, and my cavalry force is focused on destroying my enemy's orc spam, and really also gaining control of the map and maintaining control of the map, because the orc spam is going to be there all the time. It's never going to stop unless I destroy these buildings. So I need to have these Beorns there to control the orc spam, make sure he doesn't grab map control, but also I need to use these bears in human form to come into the base and somehow slow down the orc spam. Now I can either slow down the orc spam by getting rid of these command point buildings so that he's constantly limited, or I can destroy some of his buildings and reduce his spam capabilities. Now here you see he's gone over with some of his orcs, split them, and tried to harass my farms. Now I'm using my powers here to destroy these orcs, and also using the units that I saved earlier in the game to fend off this attack. So here you see that early game saving of those units has really helped me out later into this game. Here you see I've got this little force of Beorns, which I've decided to use as their function to rush into his base and destroy some of his buildings, so that I can somehow slow down this orc spam. In the meantime, he's trying to harass, but all the time I'm using my cavalry force of Beorns, and another one is coming out to try and stop his harassment, as well as he's got some here, and I'm stopping it there. But as we see, these Beorns in the base, they've gone right into the base, and they've destroyed one of his orc pits. Now they're destroying this tower, and look how quickly the tower goes down. And also you can note how quickly the orc pits go down as well. And here, once again, the cavalry Beorn, his function is to destroy those orcs which are trying to defend his base. So here you see 2 out of 5 of his orc pits are down thanks to the Beorns. And here we go. This one will probably be going down soon as well. So once this one is down, that's 3/5 of his spam capabilities reduced. So that's more than halving his spam capabilities. And really, the entire strategy of Duds here is to spam orcs. So if you reduce his spam capabilities, really that is completely countering his strategy. So we saw in the first game how I played that game. I lost it against Dud to this exact same strategy with the exact same factions. And I had the idea in that game, as we saw in the replay, if you've seen that video, I had the idea and I said to myself, I had a lot of Beorns, and those Beorns pushed back Dud and they really kept the pressure on Dud, as we've seen in this match. However, I didn't use those Beorns to attack his base. So that was where the idea of this strategy came from, was that I lost before when I saw the opportunity to attack the base. And it seems here that that theory that I had is coming into practice, and it's doing reasonably well. Now, the previous 2 games that I showed in my last video showed how you can mess up this strategy and how I lost those 2 games to the exact same strategy. But really here you see that if your micro is on point, and talking about micro being on point, this is not micro being on point because I lost that Beorn there, and really you see, this is just a clump of orcs. I mean, they're free for goodness sake, and yet they kill the Beorn, who is a cavalry. But once again, if you have more than one Beorn, it's a lot more effective, and they trample them in one hit on defensive mode, so their trample damage is very high, as well as the trample revenge damage, which affects the Beorns themselves. So yes, really, I quite like these few games. The second video I ever made, the last video I made, and this video, because it really shows how I had a theory about what I could do as Lorien, and then I just really tried to put it into practice. Now, the last video showed me trying to put it into practice and failing, whereas this video shows me putting it into practice and actually doing well, and destroying his base buildings with these Beorns, and really just crushing him very early on in the early game. So I've gone for a second Beorn here as well, just to really keep up that spam, because I've got a lot of the map still, and he hasn't got a lot of the map thanks to my constant harassing. So really I've got a little bit of an advantage of economy over him now. And here you see the command point building. So I destroyed one of his command points, and here you see it's gone right down to 480. Now, very early on in the game, you might want to focus the orc pits, especially if he hasn't got command point buildings, as we see here. But once these command point buildings get up, really that is what you want to destroy, because it constantly keeps his total command points low, his total possible command points low. So it ensures that he's never really going to build up a huge amount of orcs, which really is your main problem, because those huge amount of orcs can overwhelm your forces, and they can grab control of the map. So here we see, once again, a perfect example of using Beorns to their full capabilities and using their different functions in different ways. So the human forms are attacking the buildings, and the bears are attacking the orcs. But look at this. The trample from Shelob, in combination with the orcs and the towers, just decimated my Beorns there in human form. And really I lost a lot of Beorns there. So, and look at that trample. Destroyed by Shelob, and really maybe I should have got some pikes out to help defend, but I wanted to focus mainly on Beorns. But here you see that Beorns can do damage to Shelob as well, especially the ones in human form, as we see there. She dies from that hit from the Beorn. So yes, I lost a lot of Beorns there, but it was worthwhile to destroy his command point buildings, as well as a lot of these orc pits. And thanks to the two orc steadings that I now have, I can keep up the spam of Beorns. So really that is it. That is how I thought of a theory, put some practice into it, it managed to work out, and it won me the game. So that is one specific strategy that Dud uses, and one very specific counter that I developed to fight against it. Now, it's not saying that I would necessarily use that strategy against any other Mordor player. For example, I probably wouldn't use that strategy as I did against, for example, Dimitri or Imaginary or Mogat, who use very different styles of Mordor, where they would invest more in pikes. Dimitri would certainly invest more in trolls, and bear form Beorns are terrible against trolls because of the knockback that the trolls give to them. However, that's not to say that Beorns in themselves are not good when your enemy invests in pikes, because you can still use them for the rest of the functions. You can still use them as base attacking units, you can still use the trample to macro around the pikes and really deal some damage. And what's more, if your enemy invests in pikes, then it's taking away from the strategy that Dud uses. So Dud used the 100% gung-ho orc spam. And as you saw in the previous video, it was hard for me to counter that strategy, although you might think that such a simple strategy might be reasonably easy to counter. So if your enemy, or for example if Dud had decided to invest a lot more in pikes, he wouldn't have the money to invest in all of those orc pits, those command point economy buildings, and he also wouldn't have been able to get his outposts and his trolls and his heroes to the same effect. And that is a feature of why Mordor is so good, because their main body of troops are free. And orcs are so good at gaining and maintaining map control, especially if you let it spiral out of control. Now, something else that I would like to mention is the fact that, say for example, a Mordor player came along. It could be Dud, it could be Dimitri, it could be any other good player, or a player who's yet to come. And say for example, he played exclusively Mordor, and he became an excellent Mordor player. Really, this is where Dud's strategy would start to shine, in my opinion. Because, for example, say he was in a tournament, and he played a Mordor, he could play a Dimitri-style Mordor where he uses trolls, because as we see, trolls can be so effective if you're not ready for them. However, in another game, he could use Dud's Mordor spam, and the effectiveness of that strategy is even more prominent if your opponent is not ready for it. So by switching up strategies, he could really catch his opponents off guard and win a lot of games just through the surprise attack of the varying different excellent Mordor strategies. And that is an example where scouting is so important. So if you're playing against a Mordor player, really you need to scout. You can use your scouting heroes, you can use Beorns if you decide to go for them, and really it's so difficult to counter Dud's Mordor spam if you're not 100% ready for it. And as you saw, I only was really able to counter it because I rushed straight away for the Beorns. And that strategy doesn't give me time to go and scout, to have a look at what he's doing. So that is potentially where that strategy could be considered to be overpowered, in that you need to know it's going to happen so that you can effectively counter it right off the bat. Now that statement could be true, however it could also be a fact that I am just not that prepared to fight against Mordor players, and I'm not that experienced against Mordor players, and really I need to be able to learn how to counter any strategy effectively. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. It really shows how in Edain, more than any other strategy game, like for example StarCraft or chess, where the strategies are already developed, and basically to become good at those games you just learn the strategies and you just learn the counters. Because Edain is so new, it means that we as players, and especially good players, are developing the strategies in real time. There is no history of Edain matches, or not a lot of history of Edain matches, where these strategies have been played out. So new players and extremely good players alike are developing their own strategies as we move through as a community into making this a great multiplayer game. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.